Obusia Malik Basintale e de asema ba na oye live bi I think Twitter na nsem bebre koso live nim live no okasa bebre explaining no chese o chirem nioma political party omo power MPP currently nioma mo ye na emfa kwem na no o explaining achirem achire Ghana for say na be Ghana for betiase honom nom na o chirem say before say sala na beba no obi and I say importer bi import emo I think 10,000 bucks. Eye Bawumia ebomodin hijack emo no just because of say obenya mo no edi anase obenya mo no achecha ma yakase Bawumia de we political figure papa chese we ndi papa nti wa hijack ni pane mo no e na waton mo ni bi e na odi bi nso acheche free we yensem Malik Basintale e kan ye na de ntia o kan se we nyina ene se nipa no emo ne ndi na o imported buy na wanye ska kwa nkoyi in that particular day no the following day a wonye ska so kwa koyi mo no call ye no mo say the over ages a deɛ achimu nti enya ade a o metimi aton mu no e de ama eye anaso metimi a release mu no e de ama eye nipa na wo import mu no e de buy Malik Basintale keka na adwene e de kire Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia for doing this.
Bawumia, what are you doing with 10,000 bags of lily rice? Abba, 10,000 bags of lily rice. A businessman imported rice to Accra, and the businessman wanted to clear his goods. Those of you who are familiar with imports and exports, we have what we call them rich. If you are supposed to pay for your goods by 30th, and you don't pay for the goods on 30th, by 31st, they will tell you that them rich has set in, and government will hoard the goods. When government hoard the goods, they will finally auction it to somebody and let the person come and buy it at a cheap price. So the man's goods were supposed to expire on the 30th of April. So Bawumia and Co already got wind of it, and they were waiting to use that money for salaries, to share as salaries, because it was during Ramadan, and Bawumia wanted to go and give Chief Imam and others rice, but I'm sure they didn't have rice to go and give them. So they just put their eyes on the businessman's rice. So on the 30th April was the day the rice was supposed to be to attract them rich. On the 30th, instead of them to wait, so that on the 31st, they can now go and hoard the goods and auction them. Because the last day of the fasting was the same 30th. And if they don't share the rice on the 30th, by 31st, they cannot share. They assume that the businessman cannot bring the money. So Bawumia just ordered the Kia truck, and his administrator, Kekose, they moved the Kia Rhino to the port and started loading the goods. Whap, 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 whap. They loaded all these bags of lily rice. And straight, they took some to Chief Imam, took some to Ambaria Imam, took some just haram rice. They were just sharing haram rice like granite. Took some, so that year Chief Imam was very happy because he was like, but where did Bawumia get this rice to come and even give me many bags of rice? He was wondering, not knowing it was stolen Salah rice. Then, 30th, by 3 p.m., the businessman was at the port, which is money. He says, I've gotten the money, I'm coming to clear my rice. When they called Bawumia, what? By 3 p.m., the businessman was at the port, which is money. He says, I've gotten the money, I'm coming to clear my rice. When they called Bawumia, what? The head was hot because they had already started sharing the rice and they couldn't bring the rice back again because the businessman knew his rice. And Bawumia now started running helter-skelter, crying for help here and there. The businessman also said, no, I want my rice and I've brought the money, I'm going to pay for it. The businessman stood at the port, they will be doing him, go and come, go and come. The businessman said, I'll be here today. If you unlock me inside, but I've come with my money. So finally, the port people took the money and told him to go. He shouldn't worry. They will find him the rice. The businessman waited 1 month, nobody was talking to him. So he went to the special prosecutor. And the special prosecutor called Bawumia and he said, Mr. Man, where is the man's 10,000 bags of rice? Bring it back. Because the man is not willing to back down. That was when Bawumia said, oh, as for the rice, it is true. His office took the rice, but it is not him. It is his administrator who is called Kekose. Kekose took the rice. Then the special prosecutor said, but the rice was shared as Salah rice. Kekose doesn't pray. He doesn't do Al-Wala. He doesn't go to Masalachi. So how will Kekose be sharing rice to Masalachi? Then Bawumia said, that's the problem. So he will ask Kekose to ask him when he started sharing rice to Masalachi. Then till
And then Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia ekopia some questions and answers bi ewo omo rally bi omo kone na sefo obusia o kan send bi before say o mebe power no mo chemu say when the fundamentals are weak the exchange rate will expose you. And a lady na obisa Bawumia question ewo eye omo show na so mo rally na se no say You said this few years ago. Sesiano, dollar now will come one some years ago, na dollar no 4 cities and now come one and the dollar no it was 15 cities. So do you want to tell us, say, wamambo a year under these 15 cities to $1? It is assemble and a lady need bisa say obetimia explain and I say in sembe and obetimia catcher na for concern this whole fundamental and exchange rate issue because time now only power no dollar ever 4 cities you were talking about it but now over power dollar ever 15 cities no open say you take this lightly we and some lady no ebisa Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia but chairman the questions ne wada when nam ha say you answers ne faraban just say lady no Emma Bawumia ho kyerɛ no e wo show na say yente questions are lady no ebisa Bawumia and say Bawumia say answer questions no.
Father Saido Tumboateng from Metro TV. Mr. Vice President, you will remember this quote: if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rates will expose you. And as at the time you were making this statement, a dollar to CD was 3 cities and above, or about 3 cities, 4 cities, right? Thank you. 2024, a dollar to a city is 15 Ghana cities, about 15 Ghana cities. Okay, over 15 Ghana cities, thank you. How do I explain this to my mother, a cocoa seller, that in 2014, the fundamentals were weak? In 2024, where a dollar is now 15 cities, the fundamentals are not weak, but the prices of goods and services are high today. Thank you.
Other question, which is a nice one, Vanessa was asking, if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you, which is a truism. It was true then, and it's still true today. It's an economic truism that once the fundamentals weaken, you will see the impact on the exchange rate fundamentally. And when we talk about many of these fundamentals, you're talking about the GDP growth rate, you're talking about the fiscal balance, you're talking about the exchange, the reserves, level of the reserves that you have, inflation, and so on. When we came into office, during the first term before we hit COVID, between 2017 and 2019, you saw the fundamentals pretty much strengthening by all accounts. And the exchange rate depreciated in those 3 years by less than 5%. That was the lowest depreciation in the currency for 28 years. 28 years. That was the lowest depreciation of the currency. I think we went up, even after COVID, we didn't get that high a depreciation. But the biggest shock for the economy came in 2022. All hell was breaking loose in 2022. Inflation, 54% as at November 2022. Exchange rate had depreciated at 54%. And of course you could look at the fundamentals were in trouble at that time. You saw the fiscal deficit going up, you saw inflation going up, growth declining. And so for me, it wasn't surprising, even though it was shocking, the extent to which the exchange rate went. So the point that we are making is that once the fundamentals weaken, you will get blown in the exchange rate. And this is why we have seen that recently, even though we're depreciating in November at 54%, this year the depreciation has been 18.6% so far, right? We're looking at about 18.6%. So you are looking at a situation this year. Why is the depreciation lower? Because the fundamentals have strengthened. The fiscal deficit is under 5%. We are running a primary surplus. Growth has gone up first quarter to 4.7%, higher than projected. The reserves are increasing, and the gold for oil program is helping. So as the fundamentals and inflation today is around 20%. So there's been a strengthening of the fundamentals, and you've also seen more relative exchange rate stability. In all of this, and I want you to take this away. When I looked at what was happening in 2022, the 54% depreciation of the cedi, it was very scary. In fact, in 2022, this economy was on the verge of collapse, because you saw our reserves declining very steeply. The exchange rate was blowing up, inflation was up, and my worry at that time, frankly, was that I could see this country moving towards Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka was what was clearly in my mind at that time, because you saw protests in Sri Lanka. They had no fuel. Dumsor was there. And when you saw the way our reserves were moving in 2022, we were heading right in that direction, that we were going to get queues on the street. We couldn't buy fuel. We couldn't pay for so many things. And it was in that context that I came up with two policies. One was the gold for oil policy and the gold peg